3 days before my wedding, my sister called and told me not to expect our father to walk me down the aisle. She sounded almost happy when she said it. She told me he had chosen her side and that I should have known my place. At that moment, I thought the worst thing that could happen was walking into my wedding alone. I had no idea that the people who spent years taking from me were about to learn exactly what happened when the person holding everything together finally let go. My name is Hannah. I am 33 years old, and for more than a year after my mother died, I became the person who carried my entire family on my shoulders. When my mother was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, I was the one who stayed through the nights. I learned her medication schedule, adjusted her pillows, held her hand through the pain, and counted her breaths when everyone else had gone home. When she passed away, I handled the funeral arrangements, the paperwork, the bills, and every responsibility nobody else wanted. Somehow, without anyone officially saying it, I became the family caretaker. My father depended on me for almost everything. I paid expenses when money was tight, managed paperwork, handled insurance issues, organized medications, and quietly solved problems before anyone even knew they existed. I never complained because I thought being needed meant being loved. I was wrong. 2 years before the wedding, I met Ethan, a kind and steady contractor who never tried to control me or fix my family. He simply loved me. When he proposed, I believed my wedding would finally be one day that belonged to me. I wanted to get married in the apple orchard behind my childhood home. The land had been in our family for generations. My father had agreed, and I spent months planning every detail. Then my sister Madison decided she could not stand the idea of me being the center of attention. Madison had always lived in competition with me. After her divorce, I helped her constantly. I co-signed her apartment lease, loaned her money, watched her children, and stepped in whenever she was struggling. Yet every favor seemed to make her resent me more. 3 weeks before the wedding, she came to my house asking for money again. I gave it to her without hesitation. Then she looked me straight in the eye and said something that changed everything. She told me our father needed his grandchildren more than he needed me. That was when I realized she was using her children as leverage. She knew our father was terrified of losing access to them. She knew he was lonely after Mom died. And she had figured out exactly how to manipulate him. I drove to his house that same night hoping to fix things. Instead, he admitted the truth. Madison had threatened to keep the grandchildren away if he supported me to openly. Rather than stand up to her, he chose the easier path. He chose silence. For the first time, I realized my father was willing to sacrifice me because he believed I would survive it. That realization hurt more than anything Madison ever said. Over the following weeks, she spread stories throughout our small Ohio town. According to Madison, I had become arrogant. I thought I was better than everyone else. I was selfish and controlling. None of it was true, but lies do not need truth when they serve a purpose. Soon relatives were calling me, asking why I was tearing the family apart. People who had no idea what I had done for everyone suddenly treated me like the villain. Then came the final blow. 10 days before the wedding, my father called and told me I could no longer use the orchard. Madison had convinced him it would be better for family peace. Family peace. I stood in my kitchen holding the phone, realizing that the one place I had dreamed of getting married was being taken away from me because my father was too afraid to disappoint my sister. After the call ended, I sat on the floor and cried. For 14 months I had been paying bills, solving problems, and carrying responsibilities that belonged to everyone. Yet when I needed support, nobody was willing to stand beside me. That night I opened my banking records. I looked at every insurance payment, every medical expense, every bill, every financial obligation I had quietly handled. The total shocked even me. I printed everything. Part of me wanted to expose them all. I imagined walking into a family gathering and laying every receipt on the table. I wanted everyone to finally see how much I had sacrificed. For days, I carried that folder with me. Then something unexpected happened. While gathering items that belonged to my mother, I found a handwritten note hidden inside her sewing box. The note contained only one sentence. Place is not where they seat you, it is where you choose to stand. I read it over and over. For the first time, I realized I had spent years begging people to recognize my value. My mother was telling me I did not need their permission. A few days later, I overheard my father speaking to one of Mom's old coats hanging in a closet. He thought he was alone. His voice was broken as he admitted he could not handle another fight. He kept saying I was the strong daughter. He believed I would be fine. That moment changed something inside me. I finally understood that my strength had become an excuse for everyone else to neglect me, not because they hated me, because they expected me to survive it. That understanding did not excuse them, but it freed me. Instead of exposing everyone with my folder of receipts, I made a different decision. I let go. A family whose mother I had cared for during hospice offered me their beautifully restored barn for the wedding. Nurses I worked with volunteered to decorate. Friends brought chairs, lights, flowers, and food. Within days, an entirely new wedding came together, and something incredible happened. People showed up, not because they were family, because they genuinely cared. For years I had spent my life helping others. Now those same people were returning that kindness. Meanwhile, Madison grew desperate. She had expected me to fall apart. Instead, the wedding was becoming bigger and more beautiful than ever. The night before the ceremony, I finally stepped away from the role I had carried for 14 months. I canceled the payments I had been making. I transferred responsibilities back to my father. Then I sent him a detailed packet explaining every account, bill, policy, and obligation I had quietly managed. At the end, I wrote only one sentence. "You have everything you need now, so do I." The next morning, my sister called. She told me not to wait for Dad. She told me he had chosen her. Then she reminded me that I should have known my place. A few hours later, I arrived at the barn. The building glowed with string lights. Every chair was filled. Friends, co-workers, former patients, neighbors, and people whose lives had crossed mine were all there waiting. The room was packed. The loneliness my sister had promised never arrived. When the doors opened, I stepped inside on the arm of a beloved retired teacher who had supported me for years. The crowd rose to their feet. Then something happened nobody expected. The barn doors opened again. Madison stood there. Behind her stood our father. The expression on her face was unforgettable. She had come expecting humiliation. Instead, she found a room overflowing with love. My father looked older than I had ever seen him. His eyes were red. He had read the packet. For the first time, he finally understood how much I had been carrying. Madison tried one last time. She loudly told me I should have known my place. The entire barn went silent. I looked at her calmly and answered, "I finally do." My place was holding everyone up. I just set it down. No yelling, no receipts, no revenge speech. Just the truth. My father lowered his head in shame. Madison had no response. The room already knew who I was. I walked down the aisle toward Ethan and the cedar arch he had built with his own hands. For the first time in years, I stopped looking at the people who refused to show up for me. Instead, I looked at the people who already had. That day taught me something I will never forget. Your place is not where other people decide to seat you. Your place is the ground you choose to stand on. And sometimes the greatest revenge is not proving your worth. It is realizing you never needed their approval in the first place.